Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 127 of Be With Me. We're in the book of Acts, and I'm going to title today, Decide Which World You Want. Decide which world you want to be a part of. Because there's a guy, Eutychus, which is the name for Lucky. Mr. Lucky dies after falling, and he is raised from the dead by Paul. And Paul had decided not even to go to his city and then redecides for that. So let me start in, this is Acts chapter 20. He's in Greece, he's in Corinth, and he spends 3 months there. That's 20 verse 3. There he spent in Corinth 3 months. And when a plot was made against him by the Jews as he was about to set sail for Syria, he decided to return through Macedonia. So let me just stop here because this is geographically, these are awesome distances. Basically, he's decided to pull the ripcord on the third missionary journey and head for home. That's what's in Syria. Antioch is his home base. So he says, that's it. I've written the book of Romans. I've written the book of 2 Corinthians. I've written the book of 1 Corinthians on this trip. And now I'm in Corinth visiting with the Corinth people, and it's time to go home. So he's ready to go. And then there's this plot. The circumstances change, and so he changes his mind. He decides to return, not by taking a boat and heading right down the Mediterranean Sea, which is a big distance, but you're just sitting on a boat. He decides to go over land. So this is a 500-mile decision he makes to go north up the Greek and Macedonian peninsula and then over to Troas, which is where our action happens a little bit later. All right, so he goes 222 miles north up to Philippi and supposedly probably to Thessalonica and Berea as well, goes to those cities and visits the Christians there. Then he takes a boat over to Troas, and then this is where the rest of the story happens. On the first day of the week, when we were gathered together to break bread, Paul talked with them, intending to depart on the next day. And he prolonged his speech until midnight. And there were many lamps in the upper room where we were gathered. And a young man named Eutychus, or Lucky, was sitting at the window. He sank into a deep sleep as Paul talked still longer. And being overcome by sleep, he fell down from the third story and was taken up dead. All right, so let's talk about this guy. As we have Paul deciding amidst changing circumstances, choosing and having the Lord's sovereignty, just like we do in our lives, all of us. He makes this 500-mile decision. He goes to Troas, and he has this destiny with raising this guy from the dead. So Mr. Lucky, so let's look at it from his perspective for just a second. He's listening to Paul. Paul's been droning on for hours. They make a point about that. He's in an upper room. Lamps are burning. Oxygen is low. It's late for sure. These people are probably, work in the morning. And he falls asleep. He's by the window, maybe to help him stay awake. Well, he falls asleep. He falls to his death. And literally, he dies in his sleep, except for maybe the 3 seconds of terror as he's falling, and maybe wakes up, but then he falls into death. So, teaching point for all you listening, all my friends and family. If this ever happens to me, please do not bring me back. So you're saying he goes to paradise. I'm going to presume the guy is a believer. Maybe he's not. That's presumptuous of me. But if it's me and I'm in paradise, and you're going to wrestle me back, don't do it unless the Lord needs to demonstrate something with my life. But my preference certainly would be just leave me there. So, but Paul doesn't. So the young man is dead now. And then it says Paul went down. So he has three stories to go down, and bends over him and then does something that's medically ill-advised, which is to take him in his arms. So he moves him immediately. And obviously this is something you're not supposed to do to injured people unless it's God's day to demonstrate his power through the Holy Spirit. And it's the Holy Spirit's day to shine, which obviously it is. So who am I to say no? All right, so here are a couple application points that I see in the story of raising from the dead. First of all, it emphasizes that this is a book about the Holy Spirit and the power of the Holy Spirit and the power that is unleashed in the world, and very specifically in Paul and the disciples and some of the early believers. So it's a very exciting time. Number two is this idea of decision making and then changing circumstances and re-decision making. It's this balance between our choice and the sovereignty. I think of the passage from Romans chapter 8:28, famous verse. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. And that emphasizes the decision and redeciding and the sovereignty of God, kind of all this dynamic all happening at once. And then finally, I just think, and I think this is something that maybe this should be our final thought, and pin this thought to your chest. We have this guy, Lucky Eutychus, who is brought back from the dead. And I wonder if you are a believer or not. I think because the answer is different. If you're a believer, and I'm going to answer the question for me as a believer, which world do I want to belong to primarily? Well, I love you all, people and relatives, but I would like to be a part of that world. Don't take me back from paradise for this world. That's my selfish answer. But then I guess it doesn't say that this guy Lucky was a believer. And if he's not a believer, then it's great that he comes back and he'll have a chance to act in faith. So maybe he was lucky after all. But if it's me, just let me go. I thank you for listening. I encourage you to live confidently in the sovereignty of God and in this thing he asks us to do, which is to decide and then redecide amidst changing circumstances. Thanks for listening. I know you're going to have to do that today. I'll see you tomorrow.